Yeah. Okay. It's the second one down. Second down. Second one from the top. Wait for him to turn. Don't shoot. Can you see him coming up? Second one from the top. Wait for him to stop. That sucks. Looks like he's coming our way. Hopefully we can scare him away. Another day alive. Made it another day. It's funny, I don't really share too much personal stuff on here. It's not about me, but I'll tell you what, yesterday was a tough one, man. Tough day yesterday. It's frustrating when people close to you get diagnosed with something really horrible. And there's nothing you can do, and you have that protective thing about you, and it just makes you angry and you can't do anything about it. Pretty tough day yesterday. Everything from suicides to diagnosed for people very close to me is just a crazy day, man. Prayers sent out to every single human being in the world today who needs it. You know, it's true what they say, you know, you can't have darkness where there's light. So we should just try Try to make the bright light shine every chance we get, no matter what comes down the pipe, right? So, here we are again today. No stopping. Everyone's going to be heard. Alright, let's get into it. This first email is titled, Deny, Deny, Deny. Hello Steve, I just watched an Owlman submission on your channel and was amused by your deny, deny, deny comments. You see, once upon a time I was involved with the intelligence side of the military, and the unofficial motto was, deny everything, admit nothing, then make counter accusations. No doubt, seems to be quite effective still today, right? So I'm not sure that you can see why I couldn't help but laugh at your reaction to the Owlman's email. It's been almost 2 years since I wrote in with my own experience, and I can only hope that it was of some help to someone else in trying to make sense of their experience. Steve, is getting crazy out here, and I am finding that a number of the folks that I once believed to be trustworthy are not. So watch your six, and that of your family. Thank you for what you do. I'd love to be able to shake your hand someday because you're my kind of people. As before, please keep my information private. Gotcha, man. Gotcha. Appreciate that. I don't know if it took me a while when that came in, but we got to share it, man. Yeah, the deny, deny, deny thing is unfortunately, it works on humans, right? A lot works on humans. It's a crazy thing to watch. This whole lifetime is crazy. We were talking about it the other day on the boat, Sarah and I'm like, man, if you just, aside from the topics we talk about here, which are, for some reason, looked at as out there, if you look at what goes on in the world, good or bad, doesn't matter what's going on, just take a quick rip around the world on a National Geographic Channel something, I don't care what. And this entire planet is like one of those way out there movies. It is. If you look at it that way, this whole entire existence is the ultimate crazy, right out there movie. It is. It's bizarre. It's so bizarre. It's such a crazy ride. Being alive is absolutely freaking crazy. Unless, of course, you do not... Yeah, I'll bite my lip. Alright, moving along. Moving along. No babbling today. Alright, this one's titled A Strange Fishing Trip. Hi Steve, please refer to me just as Kay. I live in South Central Michigan. That is an interesting fact, in that I have never heard of anyone ever mentioning any type of strange experiences aside of the ghost stories from years past, and I don't hold a lot of credibility to those, or at least I didn't until now. My husband and I have a local fishing spot where we like to go for panfish. I prefer not to mention the name of the small lake, for it is well known in this area. I do not wish thrill seekers to visit this area and possibly disturb anything or anyone that may be habitating it. It was a Saturday afternoon and there were a few people there fishing and picnicking. We walked from the dirt parking area into the woods and there was a very small beach. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and we fished for a couple of hours. Didn't keep any fish, but it was nice just to get outside and into the sunshine for a while. After a while we were getting hungry and we had not brought a picnic, so we decided to go. My husband was talking to a guy who was still fishing about another place to fish, I believe. I was walking back to the parking area all alone. It was kind of dense woods with a hill that went down to the parking area. When I reached the bottom of the hill, I heard a thud behind me. It was enough that I felt it too. I returned to look, and there was a broken off limb of a tree, maybe 18 inches long, laying in the path where I had just been, about 5 feet behind me. I looked to see if my husband was coming. He was about 25 feet away. I didn't know how that limb got there, nor did I stick around to look at it further. There was another path to get down the hill, and my husband usually took that one. I didn't have any worry that he would have any problem for some reason. I just knew I needed to keep going. I got to the truck and loaded my gear. I didn't mention the limb to him. I thought it may have been there already, and maybe I just imagined that it fell. I couldn't be sure. 2 days later, Monday, we went back to the same place about 7 a.m. No one was there, and everything was very quiet. We parked the truck, and I had to use the outhouse. As I was returning to the truck, we heard and saw a large, fully leafed tree falling down about 40 to 50 feet in front of the truck into the woods. It was becoming a bright sunny day, and there was no wind at all. We looked at each other, and a feeling came over me like, we need to get back into the truck and speed out of there. Just as fast as the feeling came, it went. I took a deep breath, told my husband, we came here to fish, let's do it. We unpacked our gear and started for the path. That same path. I noticed a fresh break of an old broken branch. The branch was still attached to the tree. The only thing was the branch was at least 15 feet up. What could have done this and why? I suppose if someone backed a truck up, a tall person could have broken it, but it was about 3 to 4 inches around. I didn't notice it before it was there the other day, and it was very obvious. I should have. It had to have been a new break. We went down the path, and the branch that I thought had thudded behind me was still there. We went to the bench, and the mist was on the water as the sun was making the air warm. The water was so still. We fished for about an hour without much luck. All the while I kept looking back into the woods in that direction that both the branch in the path and the tree fell. The lake near that area was covered in lily pads and brambles right down to the water. Not a great place to hang out or fish or anything else. I kept feeling like we were being watched, even though I knew no one was out there that early. Finally, we made our way back to the truck. And on the way home, I asked my husband if he felt like we were being watched. And he gave a relieved yes. I told him that I did too. What or who? I don't know. Or even if there was anything for sure. I just know I trust my intuition, and it was firing up a lot that day. I've heard about sightings of beings up north in the UP. This was not the UP. Has anyone else had any experiences or sightings in the Waterloo recreational area? Thanks for giving me a place to vent and share. Appreciate all the work it takes to do this for everyone. Alright, Kay. Shared. So keep your eye on the comment section below this video, right? And I'm certain, if there has, somebody's going to chime in and let you know all about it. I'm guessing. We found the fresh tree. I've got the photos. I got the photos on one of my other phones. But we were hunting up along the Peace River, go figure, right where we had found all the broken off young trees, where the trail camera got spun, where my partner heard the whacking on the tree and I'd hear nothing. And we found a pine tree. It was like that. I think I posted the pictures. And we went down this dead end trail. We'd gone down a dead end trail, this old trapper cabin that was at the end of the trail, well, old road, grown over with moss and everything. And and it was thick pine trees, probably. I mean, it was real thick on both sides of the road for around maybe 100 meters or so before it opened up a bit to where this cabin was. And no, we'd been to the cabin for a while, and we were elk hunting. And the tree, the tree's about like this. And it was the top 15 feet of the pine tree was across that trail when we were coming back out. And again, zero wind, zero clouds. Actually, it was too hot. I remember that for the elk hunting, but it was no wind, no nothing. Brand new, freshly broken. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah. Because it was either thrown there or dropped there. It did not fall into the road from any of those trees. I'm like, And the pine trees were thick, tight together. Like, you know, you had to really dig in there to get in there. And then all those nasty scratching under branches that come out of the trunk at the bottom. And all of the trees were around 6, 8 inch, 10 inch trees, meaning cross the bottom. And then I decided, it was getting dark when we left, and I want to go back and check it out. I'm like, okay, that's not normal. And that thing wasn't there when we went into this trail. And I didn't hear a pop or a break either. You should have heard that thing snap in half. Probably hundreds of yards away that particular evening, so there's zero wind. There's nothing sound. But anyway, I went back there the next day after I finished my morning hunt. I started looking around. I'm like, I gotta find where this thing came from. And there was a tree that it looked as though it was, I found the tree it came from. It looked as though 15 feet up or so. No, that was more than that. Yeah, we'll call it 15 to 20 feet, whatever, way up the trunk. You could see where if the tree was like, you know, I'm holding on to the tree, as if it was pushed and snapped off that way because the roots were up like this on the ground. The roots were pressed up out of the ground, and it was laying flat on the ground. And the top 15, 20 feet was about, I don't know, it could have been 10, 15 meters through the other thick pine trees was where the road was. And the top 15 feet of that tree was on top of the road crossways. Odd, right? And I got pictures of that. I know I posted those pictures up and shared them with everybody here then. That was like 2 years ago. Maybe even 3 now. Yeah, a lot of weird stuff going on there. Anyway, sorry, babbling. I got something else I'm going to share with you guys that went down here night before last too. But before I do that, let's listen to more people. Shio Oshigwoju from Snowbird Cherokee Nation, North Carolina, USA. Hey Steve, I've been watching your channel for quite a while in my pursuit of understanding this phenomenon, and I agree with your attitude and approach, probably the most of any I'd seen so far. Though I'm probably not nearly as old as most of the people who email you. Being only 21, I take from my experiences what you will. My name is Reed. It's fine if you use my name. I'm an avid outdoorsman, and hunting and fishing were not just skills I grew up with, but they were expected of me. My father was a very serious, no-nonsense kind of guy, and he took how you conduct yourself in the woods very seriously. I was raised to be alert and catch on to movement very quickly while taking into consideration the direction of the wind and not move swiftly or make much noise if you can help it. My first time seeing or encountering one took place when I was hiking and exploring, just for the hell of it, to see how far I could go and see what I can see or find, though I had no idea what I actually would bump into. The Snowbird Cherokee Reservation is backed up to the Snowbird Mountains, and bordering it are the Nantahala National Forest, and I believe also the Cherokee Nation Forest on the other end, all being part of the Great Smoky Mountains. Smoky Mountains again, right? As to more specifically where I was and how I got in there, I'll not say, because as has been mentioned on your channel, these beings are in genuine peril from the government. I assume over land and rights that the government doesn't want to lose by recognizing them as a people, as well as idiots who just want to say they shot one, and just for the hell of it. But I was walking and I had already crossed 2 mountains, and I went through a gorge that opened up into a flat area. I wouldn't really call it a valley. We don't really get many of these here that are natural. But it was early spring, and it was ramp season. And as I came to the end of the flat area, I noticed there was a fairly steep drop-off. I noticed the bank had ramps growing all over it. And I went down the bank digging and getting ramps. I don't even know what those are. I've never heard of ramps. And when I got closer to the bottom, I could see I was in a deep, deep holler in between 2 mountains. And in the bottom was a branch, small creek, and it had a rock cliff/wall, whatever you'd like to call it. it had a rock formation that by scrawny, but couldn't hope to climb. The bank came down, digging ramps. I kind of slid down it. It was really steep, so it wouldn't be easy to climb back up. There wasn't much to pull myself up on growing. Although, kids, we were no punctuation. Okay, you guys, so it's messing with me a little bit. One more time. So it wouldn't be easy to climb back up. There wasn't much to pull myself up on growing on the bank, besides ramps and a few saplings here and there. But I figured I'd mostly be trying to claw my way back and sliding back down if I tried going back the way I came in. So I decided to follow the branch up this holler and see if it comes out somewhere I can get my bearings. As I'm walking along the bottom of this bank, with the bank on my right side, and the branch and rock clipped on the other, I started looking. The ramps where I came in seemed fine, but it looks like big patches of where people had just sat and picked all the ones in a big patch, then moved 20 to 30 feet and picked all the others in a big patch. For those who don't know what a ramp is, it's similar to wild onions or garlic, but it's its own unique thing, and they grow in large colonies. And eventually it looked like a very large area where the soil had been disturbed, where it looked like a lot more ramps used to be there, but were all dug, which would not be unusual, as ramps are highly sought after in early spring, and natives downright go crazy for them, and a lot of times even over-harvest them. So here I am walking along with my arms and coat pockets full of ramps, looking at what someone else has done, wondering how someone else just so happened to be this insanely far in here, when I noticed the holler kind of came to an end like a horseshoe. Apparently chose the wrong direction to follow the creek. The rock ledge on the other side also came to an end, and up under the ledge at the very end was what looked like a huge rat's nest made of sticks. And I'm like, what the heck is that? I considered it being built up from rainstorms, washing stuff downstream, but this was far enough away from the water, and where it was positioned, it really didn't make sense how. I approached this weird structure slowly and quietly, and a little, because there was a lot of ramps that had been picked not far from this, so I didn't know is some crazy wacko was trying to be a survivalist for fun or what, and this was his shelter. An inch closer, and it looked like it had an opening on one side. It essentially looked like 20 to 30 feet wide pile of sticks laid up under this rock overhang with an opening on one end. As I got closer, I heard something shift and move inside this rat's nest, and I was all by myself, and shivers went all up and down me. A bear, maybe? A hog? Could either one make an entrance to lay up and bed down on this pile of sticks? I ease closer now, only inching over there, and I'm dead focused on that entrance and not looking away for anything. And my eyes are staring as intently as they can, but it's hard to see anything in the shadows of the structure. And it was already getting darkish outside anyway. I heard more movement and said, "Hello," in an announcing kind of voice, so I didn't catch anyone by surprise. Upon reflection, I doubt they were unaware of me for that long. And almost immediately, from when I said hello, it looked like a little bear cub had been in the center of view in the shadows the whole time, but it blended in somehow. It was snatched up very fast by some arms coming from deeper in the structure, and then a lot larger face peeking out from the inside edge of the entrance. My blood ran cold so fast, and I was frozen for a second when I heard something tearing through the brush very quickly. When a big one, I assume was the dad, came busting out of the brush at the top of the bank, as if he heard and was running to get there as fast as he could, because I heard the breathing. But as soon as he became visible, he saw me immediately and sunk back into the brush. So I only saw him a second, and it caused my already cold blood to somehow feel colder. All the while, all that I can assume is a mother peeking out at me is still staring at me, though I can only barely see her eye behind some sticks. The structure is still probably 50 feet away. Then, without a sound, he popped out of the laurels right behind me. He went all the way around from the top of the bank in front of me and got behind me without a sound. And I was just standing there with him 40 or so feet behind me and her in fringe of me. And I'm standing between a family. Let me read that again. I was standing there with him 40 feet or so behind me and her, okay, now in front, sorry, there's a typo, her in front of me. And I'm standing between a family. Being a native kid, I know what they are. But like I never thought I'd see one. It's just one of those things where old people tell stories and you take it with a grain of salt. I had so many emotions going all at one time, mainly fear. But like, what am I looking at? It looked almost supernatural, but physical at the same time. I'm part white, fairly pale as far as natives go, and I'm used to hearing hillbilly jokes about us Appalachian people, and us being born up in a holler on the wrong side of the bed and never getting a birth certificate. This really seemed like an undocumented person without a birth certificate, and like dirty and unwashed. Kind of felt like an exaggerated stereotype of us remote hillbillies. On the other hand, it looked like a look at our roots, like the way the Cherokee used to live. It looked like a look at our roots, in harmony with everything. Scary and beautiful, all rolled up in one. But it was still probably 80% piss yourself fear. He was behind me for a second, and as I was basically a dead end, and as I was in basically a dead end gap in the mountains, and he was blocking the exit, and she was in the other end, I thought this was it. This is the end of me. He said something. It was pretty loud, but not a yell, and it was only a word or two, and if I didn't know what made the noise, I would have guessed it came from a wounded bear or something. It was very growly. It was meant for me, because an affirming noise responded from the stick structure, but it sounded more like a quick raccoon chatter. I can only assume that what transpired in front of me was the male checking to see if the contents of the structure were okay or messed with. With the response from the pile of sticks, he immediately stepped out of sight back into the brush. All of this occurred in just a few seconds. I didn't know what to do. There's nowhere to go, there's something big and hairy in either direction, so I was trying to think of the protocol the elders would say when telling the stories. And they just said, be respectful. He is our brother and our neighbor. I realized I still have ramps, and honestly I was terrified. I had even picked their ramps. But I was also too scared to toss them in any direction, so I gently dropped them. And pulled them where I stood and backed up and tried to go in the opposite direction back out of the holler. And when I walked 60 feet or so very slowly, the big dark colored male stepped back out behind me. But now he was between me and the structure, and he stepped closer. And I stepped back, and he stepped closer, and I stepped back again. The fact I'm still alive at this point, I start to not feel as in danger, but I still had a feeling that I urgently need to get out of there and go away. And he stepped back into the brush and kept walking back. And he kept occasionally letting me see a glimpse, as if he was showing himself to herd me and push me farther away. And eventually I got far enough away, I just turned around and started walking my way out. And I could hear him paralleling me in the woods to my side and slight rear. So I walked, and it was getting dark, and I didn't bring a light or a weapon. If I had brought a weapon, he might have reacted differently. And if I had to protect myself, one, I probably would have just pissed them off before my neck got snapped. Two, if I did successfully defend myself, I would have mourned killing one. It wouldn't have been right. I put myself in this situation, wandering around like a helpless child. So I'm glad in a way I was unarmed. But as I walked, I could hear the footsteps flanking me. I wasn't super worried about him anymore. I was just unpolitely trespassing, and he was just dealing with it. I was considering all the bears, Smoky Mountains have a large black bear population, and hogs and panthers that also roam the mountains, and it was basically dark. And I was walking, just listening, to hoping that my escort might deter anything else. No, I don't think he would have saved me or helped me if I did get jumped by a cat or something. I was just hoping his smell, which was pretty rank, would keep other predators at bay. I finally made it to my vehicle, and his footsteps trailed off long before I got there. This past winter I thought a lot about how rude it would have been to go back, but I had to see it. And I did go back and find the place again. The structure had been torn down, and less than half the amount of sticks that originally made up the structure were all that remained. And this time it would be easy to assume it was natural buildup of debris from a bad storm. Nothing out of the ordinary, but I know what used to sit there in that spot. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this. Hopefully one day these people can get the recognition and protection from prying eyes and protection from unbalanced idiots who think they should be wiped out. Remember, we are all connected in a hoop, in a circle that never ends. Time doesn't move in just one direction, and reality is just what you see in front of you right now. Things are never what they seem, and never stop learning and asking questions. Thank you from Cherokee Nation. Whew! Man, I hope I didn't butcher that from reading a little awkwardly. I don't think I did. And that is one hell of a frickin' experience, man. Without a doubt, you wouldn't at this stage of the game, knowing what's going down, we could almost predict that the structure would have been taken away immediately. I mean, your absolute secret intimate place is busted, period. You take no chances, time to go. And it's interesting that they left enough sticks there. It's interesting that they took the debris with them, or maybe they probably just grabbed it and strewn it about somewhere out of sight to cover anything that might look out of place, or make it unrecognizable by description for somebody you may have told, right? They would have came back. Picture that one. So they covered their ass, made the structure look like a pile of debris, probably anticipating if you brought somebody back and said, see, it's right there. And anybody you would have brought back would have said, it's just a few sticks, dude. You're losing your shit, right? But anyway, you're lucky. You're fortunate to not have had that large male forest person come raging up to you and scream in your face, potentially causing months or years of PTSD, right? Or turning your hair white instantly. You're lucky, man. You're lucky that being didn't go to town on your ass and go to terrifying you and screaming at you and towering over you. And it sounds like he got let off the hook pretty easy, right? Very interesting, isn't it? Another member of the Club of No Return, generously sharing what most people previous to this channel would roll their eyes and just ignore it, right? Crazy. You got anything else you want to share in the future, please do, alright? Keep sharing, man. Just keep sharing. Whatever you got, whatever you know, whatever you learn, whatever we can benefit from, get it to me if you can. Be safe out there. Very appreciative of that, of you emailing that in. Here's another one. This one's titled 3 Broken Marriages. Alright, what do we got? I think it came in 2 different emails. Alright, we'll leave that last. The first email was, I need to stay anonymous to protect a family member's wish. You sent me a link to your channel. I do like how you treat this without the BS. It starts in '84. I just went to Seattle to crew my second CUZ, my second cuz boat towards the end of the season. Oh, so your second cousin's boat towards the end of the season. He asked if I would like to spend some time at his brother's place in the mountains. He's just like you, Steve, an outdoorsman. He had a group coming up for a hike up there in a couple of days. Well, to keep this short, there was 10 people plus my cousin and a hired hand and myself. We left very early in the morning, about midday. We all stopped for lunch and a break. At that time, my cousin came over to me and told me to come with him. We went over to where his help was and told us something is tracking us. My thought was, how the hell do you know that? I'm from Nebraska and I've never hunted. This is all new to me. We got to the place. We're going to camp for the night. Set up tents and ate. It's getting dark quick, and everyone called it a night except my cousin. He struck me as very nervous. A little after I fell asleep, there was a loud knock that woke me. Then I was told to get my ass out of there and get the rifle. That's when the noises and the rocks started. Everybody woke up. They were harassing us. They were all around us. Had to be at least 4 of them. And the god-awful smell, I've never smelled anything like that. It made a skunk smell good. My cousin told, grab what you need, we're leaving. In the middle of the night. It was hard to navigate that trail in places in the daylight. I'm thinking, this is stupid. But he insisted we had to go now. We left tents and lots of other stuff and started back. They were on our heels until morning. I asked him who the guys were. He told me to shut and never talk about it. Well, he passed 15 years ago and we never did talk about it. His wife divorced shortly after this incident and took the kids with her. Well, I just forgot about it and did tell my wife, and all she did was laugh. Called it a ghost story. And after all these years, his son decided to move his family there with all the crazy crap going on. Seattle. He was the one that messaged me and bring back the memory of that night. He wanted to know who or what those people are. All I can tell him, nobody has been there in years and your dad was scared of them. I can't tell you exactly where this place is. It's been too many years, and in the woods I lose all sense of direction. It was a long drive from the boat to get there, and I don't ever want to go in to any forest. I would take a storm on the Pacific Ocean in a small fishing boat any day. And then he sent in a second follow-up email. Steve, to add to this, it ended 2 marriages and broke a family up because my cousin knew of these things and he was afraid to share the knowledge. And his brother, who sent me there, asked me several times what happened. I worked for him crabbing and fishing for years in all kinds of shit weather and was never shaken. He always asked what the F happened. And my response, your brother forbid me from telling it. And when I did break that, it cost me my wife. Now his son had to experience this with his family, and I know he is looking for anything to explain it because his father refused to share this knowledge. I hope you share this, Steve, and yes, my phone sucks. Okay, man, share it. And make sure you share this video with whoever you think might need to hear it too, alright, man? Here you go, another person that won't go out in the woods anymore. Another member of the Club of No Return. A few of our familiar patterns went down in that email, right? Here's another one. There's so many emails. Hey Steve, what you are doing is perfect. Thanks and please keep it up. My story is like dozens of others. I was bluffed, charged, screamed out, and followed by an angry Sasquatch. What I want to talk about are the parts that still disturb me. 15 years ago, I was on a spring hike in the coastal mountains of Central California. miles inside the Sespe Wilderness, capital S-E-S-P-E, Sespe Wilderness. I came on an old, empty campsite with a spring and shady oaks, so I stopped for a break. Excuse me. I cooled down, drank water, and looked around, and noticed things were kind of strange. First, there was an old coffee can that had been split open and laid flat, jammed a good 6 inches into the trunk of a tree. Wait a minute, I read this. I'm going to read it again. I couldn't imagine how someone could do that. It would be hard to get a sharp knife 1 inch into that oak. The fire ring hadn't been used in weeks, full of leaves, and rained on since the last fire. Nearby, dozens of 12-pack boxes crushed flat were laid out. Now, we read that fairly recently. Everybody's heard this one. It's in Tucson, Arizona. I called it Tucson, Arizona, remember? All right. Here's another one. A progression of events. Steve, been thinking for a while about sharing my story, which has been a progression of events. Being on your channel for about 2.5 years. I went from total unbeliever to knower and club of no return in that period. Probably you and many others, I'm guessing. Listening to the accounts here made me realize that a number of weird things that happened to me over the years were Sabe related. At the time they happened, I just had no frame of reference to put them in, so I just brushed them off. I live on the east side of the Cascade Mountains in Central Oregon. Love it here. I had many years in the woods. I worked as a tree planter, logger, surveyor, some hunting, and a lot of hiking. It was a time distortion story you read that prompted me to write. I'm 7 years old, and I walk in the woods for exercise and just for enjoyment. My wife and I have some preferred places we like to go and are very familiar with these trails and roads. We walk a half hour out, then back, which of course makes an hour walk. Just enough for some good exercise, but not tiring at all. One day last summer, 2022, we took our usual route, but we checked out a side road for an addition, say 15 or 20 minutes of walking. We got back to the car 20 minutes early. Should have taken an hour and 20 minutes. She even set her stopwatch and checked the clock in her rig. All said we only walked about 40 minutes. We just don't know what to say. But wait, it gets better. A few weeks later, my brother and his wife came with us on one of our walks as we'd been raving about how beautiful this one other trail was as it went along a river through the big ponderosas. This other trail is about half a mile away from the first one as the crow flies. I was on to the wilderness by now, and I would write my departure time on a piece of paper and leave it in the truck. Check my cell phone clock and set my analog watch to be sure. Well, it happened again, and this time I had witnesses. We took a side road. It was all gated off, Forest Service road, for an extra 15 minutes of walking. We got back early. My brother was speechless. The fourth time it happened, I was walking alone. Same trail, and I stuck to the main road for an hour of exhilarating walking. I didn't notice anything unusual except that the last 300 yards or so of road, I was exhausted. I actually had to stop a couple times and rest. I thought I was coming down with a cold or something. I just felt weak. Time checked, out as an hour, and I went home. I got home, my wife said, "Where were you?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I was gone for hours." Then it hit me. I felt like I'd walked 10 or 15 miles. Oh, and we heard a lot of tree knocks along that road on one particular day. By the way, it is a beautiful area, and I ain't about to stop going into the woods. Now for the Sabe-related stuff. I'm going to leave out any real landmarks to keep the tree knockers and whoopers away. About 10 years ago, I was camped on the shore of a large reservoir. Very beautiful and peaceful. Lots of wildlife there. Sitting in my tent, about to go to sleep for the night, I heard a pack of coyotes close by, just raising a ruckus. Maybe only 100 feet away. I always carry some kind of firearm, so I wasn't too worried. Then the hair just stood up all over my body, and I'm like, what the hell? I wasn't scared of the coyotes, so what was going on? Being a Christian, I rebuked it in the name of Jesus, and it went away. Had this happen several times in various places. Me and a buddy of mine were backpacking around the summer of 2000 into the Three Sisters Wilderness area. Several miles into the hike, a small rock landed right at my feet. I looked up but could see nothing. I thought it was somebody just being a jerk. We stopped midway to our destination to camp, and there was a really nice log cabin shelter there. We wanted to sleep under the stars. I went to sleep in the cabin. Away from the mosquitoes and the dew. Put my bedroll on the bunk and prepared to go to sleep, but I couldn't. I just felt uneasy. What could be better? I'm as safe as can be here in this cabin, I thought. I rolled over to sleep, then sat up. There's definitely something in the cabin. I could feel it. My flashlight showed nothing, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I left the cabin to sleep outside with my friend. Later we arrived at our destination, a small but beautiful lake about a mile off the Pacific Crest Trail. No one had used the trail going in, no footprints. Pine needles of branches covered the trail. If we hadn't been watching for it, we would have passed right by. Set up camp, each in our own tent. Shortly after laying down, I hear footfalls, heavy footfalls, come right up to my tent. I heard sniffing or breathing right by my face, inches away. Smiling, I tell myself it's an elk. Now I know better. The ground there was hard. No footprints to see the next morning, and it began raining. We got rained out. I'm thinking now they actually followed us. My point to these stories is how the human mind will bend things or even lie to fit your current understanding of reality. Since then, I've heard screams, howls, and had a tree pushed down almost right in front of me. There was just enough trees between me and it. I couldn't see it, but it was only about 30 feet away. Just prior to that, I saw something black lean out from behind a small ponderosa looking at me. It was about 100 yards away. A 2-second view. I was out woodcutting. I went to see the fallen tree, and it was a nice dead lodge pole. So in my mind I said, "Thank you for the log, it's a nice one," and went about my business. The things I've heard in your channel have greatly helped my understanding and help me to not be so fearful. My wife is full-blooded native of the Shoshone-Bannock tribe. She has had several incidents. Once at night she could see red eyes looking at her through our picture window from about 30 feet away. Didn't feel threatened at all. Then it was gone. Doing dishes at the kitchen window, she got a mind speak. She said she felt it was an elder. I asked, "Why are you curious about us?" She was too shocked to answer. Then she caught one looking in the bedroom window. It ducked away as soon as she saw it. Again, no footprints. We asked them to stay away from our house and not scare us, which seems to have worked so far. I've gotten familiar enough with some of the people on her reservation that they open up to me about the various entities they see on the reservation. They call it Shohavich. It's Tshohavitch. Chohavich, or Jarbidge. Also stick people, little people, and shapeshifters. To them, these are just a fact of life. So, my wife and I are kayaking on a local lake. I was trying out a new kayak, which I decided I didn't like, so I went back to our starting point early. Mind you, she was only a few hundred yards away. I could easily see her and our dog, which was trotting along the shore near her. As she was returning, she told me she passed a large, dark rock sticking up about 3 feet out of the water, just offshore. Our dog was looking at it and growling. Even after she passed it, she was looking back at it growling. When my wife got back to me, she told me about it, so I said, "Where is the rock?" She pointed to where it had been, and it was gone. I think we know what that was. One early summer day, I go out to the road along the river to walk, and someone had taken a saw and cut right through the metal gate, and even moved the boulders the Forest Service put across the road to stop cars from going in there, and tore down the no motor vehicle sign. I saw their camp from a distance. A lot of garbage there. They were there all summer. I got a real bad vibe from them. So I was in the area one day, and in my mind I told I like the big timber in the coastal mountains that I run around in a lot, and I've shared with you guys. There's some places where you can see through a slot, a window in between trees, right down a lane. Not a lane, but you can see through holes of up to sometimes maybe 200 yards in that canopy of big timber. So what I'm saying is you could sit there in some of those places in big timber and use your binoculars and just start gazing, and all you got to do is move a foot or two, and it opens up a whole another little potential little seeing lanes quite a ways through the timber. And you could I do not do it, I don't do it, and I intentionally do not do it, but I'm just saying I wonder how long it would take of doing that to shift your focus from the game you're intentionally looking for, or whatever you're doing, to looking at stumps, looking at tree trunks, and really looking at them, and really gazing at them. Because I have a feeling you really have to look for a while. It's like those paintings, right? It was in the 90s or something, somebody came up with some poster. They sold them all over the place. All the malls had them in poster shops. And it was some pattern, exact pattern. It's a weird pattern the whole page. And you had to stand there 3 feet, 2 feet in front of it and just gaze at it and gaze and gaze and gaze and gaze at it and gaze at it, and finally the image that was hidden in there would stand out to your eyeballs. Same deal. I wonder how long it would take sitting in that big timber, or looking at that riverbed, or looking at that lake edge, and steadily observing every single dark looking, odd looking boulder, stump, log piling sticking out of a lake, stump in the timber, dark tree trunk, whatever, right? But then once you do, if you did and you're successful at spotting something that wasn't a tree or a rock and was something else, is that going to make that happen all the time? Now are they going to, and now is it like being tagged, whatever you want to call it? Once you do that once, are you not going to be able to avoid that again? That's a bit of a roll of the dice and the gamble, right? Depending on what you're into. I'm not really into it. I'm good right now. The route I've been going right now, I can still go in the woods alone. You'll never not think about them ever after you've seen one. It's just all there is to it. But they let me know they're there. Obviously, we've caught it on video a handful of times. But nobody's getting in my face and trying to chase me out of the woods. Perfect. But anyways, one more quick mention. I believe I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So it was the night before last night. Yeah, night before last night. Trust me, yesterday was a very heavy day. Still heavy. It's still heavy right now, but Sarah's son is almost 21. And we're all bed. Passed right out after being up at 4 in the morning for a couple days straight. And he said yesterday morning that he went out on the back deck of the house right here, and then Ruby was she was outside for the night because I've got this place fully fenced now, and she's out there. But he said she was just standing there staring, not making a sound, staring down towards the chicken coop. And he put the flashlight down there, and he said he thought the horse was standing there. Both my horses are black, and by the chicken coop, the chickens are all enclosed in the coop. And I have an 8-foot tall fence around it, around the chicken coop. But he said that he looked down there and he thought he saw the horse down there, put his flashlight on it, and then he said it swung around, looked back at him. And then he said the dog just stood there frozen, just staring down in the darkness down there. But anyway, the thing is, and then I think he said he was texting with his friends, texting his friend, and he said that he was laughing with his friend, texting about it, saying that he let the horse scare the crap out of him, and then went back in. But the horses are never out running around. They are in their stall with the barn door closed. We do not forget to put the horses in if we will let them out. So the horses weren't down there. And then yesterday, when I was working in the back, the horses were out, and the horses were down exactly basically right in front of the chicken coop. And him and Sarah were standing on the back porch, and he said, that wasn't the horse. This is way bigger than the horse. So there you go. That's all I know. And that went down here the night before last. So, hopefully, I don't know. There's no way it was the horses. That's the fortunate thing. I didn't see what he saw. And the horse and the dog, which she barks at frickin' everything at nighttime. Or else she goes and chases around the horses. She loves to try to play with the horses, but I don't know. We'll see what comes, right? Hopefully nothing more. Not into it. I'd rather live at peace here in this property and not have any, I don't need all the chickens slaughtered. I don't need things getting banged. We had this place banged on when we first moved in here, actually. It scared the crap out of Sarah. I wasn't here. And then she had that one night that she woke up absolutely terrified and frozen in bed. That happened to her once. What else happened? So we've had stuff thrown at me in the quad. That way, about down by the river. What is that? 800 yards. Had that go down there. We'll see. Anyways, there's my update from the back 40 anyway. In another day. So, I'm going to get on with it. And a quick note to all, people have wrote in and they always say, darkness cannot be while there is light. So, encourage everyone who may be feeling down or having something tragic happen to make sure you focus on the light. Alright? Make sure you focus on the bright light. No matter what. Don't go down the dark road. Stay in the light. Keep the light. Focus on the light, the bright. Meaning between the ears. And I'll be back. Again. Share my story at howtohunt.com. And that reminds me of one more point. Something expired with my domain name May 18th. And the website disappeared. Everything disappeared. I thought I got hacked by China or something and they stole everything. And I got it back on track. I don't know if the website's back up, but it even shut down the emails. So it's all, if you did try to email in the past few days and it got bounced back or whatever you want to call it, it's all working again. Alright? So, share my story at howtohunt.com. And I'll be back again. I'm not going to stop. And I'll be a little more chipper tomorrow, hopefully. Be back later.